I've been a fan of yours for a long time, and I just want to say congrats on the movie. If someone has actually never seen anything you've directed before, what is the first thing you'd like them watching and why?
Just watch the characters. My films lead with the characters. They don't lead with plot. And hopefully, after watching characters on screen for 2 hours, you have an emotional connection to them, and you have an emotional connection with the story. That's how I try to design them. So hopefully that's how people watch them.
One of the things, American motorcycle culture has been something that's been alluring to so many people around the world for decades now. Yeah. What do you think it is about the culture that, pulls people in and romanticizes it?
I think it's part of human nature. It's partly why I wanted to make the film, was to try to understand it a little bit better. Look at a motorcycle. It's beautiful. You look at it, you want to ride it. Feels like freedom. It can also kill you. It holds this tension right in front of you. And that's kind of how our movie's supposed to be. There's this thing that is incredibly attractive, but you know that it's bad for you. You know that it's dangerous. But we still do it. Why? Why is there a part of human nature that draws us to things that we know are dangerous? It's a question that the movie doesn't necessarily answer, but it certainly wants to hold up to the light and ask it.
I'm fascinated by the editing process because it's where it all comes together. Of the films you've made, which one do you think changed the most in the editing room in ways you didn't expect going in?
I mean, that's an interesting question. It's usually not big sweeping changes. I outline these films so meticulously. By the time we construct them in the editing room, they pretty well stay the same. About 2/3 of the way through every single film I've made, there's a scene that comes out, a scene that if you'd asked me in pre-production to take out, I would have quit. But then in the editing room, you just say, nope, that's not there. In this film, it was a scene with Mike Weiss's character, and it was the only scene where he's alone, not with part of the group. And we were filming it. Mike was like, you're never going to use this scene. And I said, no, it's very important because it's kind of my point of view, kind of speaking about how I feel about this club and the reality of this club and this culture. And he was like, no way you're going to use it. And when we got it to it in the editing room, I had barely put a construction of it together. And I was like, yeah, that's got to go. He bet me $1,000. I owe him $1,000.
That's not the first time I've heard that actors have bet $1,000 on set and saying, you're never going to use this.
Yeah. And I'm probably never going to pay him, but I owe him $1,000.
First of all, thank you. That's fantastic. So one of the things about this is that it's a love story between three people, but you don't realize, I don't think the audience realizes the three people that the love story is.
That's right. Well, hopefully they do by the end, but this idea of a love triangle kind of popped into my head. And it wouldn't be a love triangle in the traditional sense that two guys are chasing the same girl or two girls are chasing the same guy. You have this older man that is attracted to this younger man in the sense that he wants what he has. And then you have Jodie Comer's character who's also attracted to this man, wants to marry him. But there's something about the essence of this young guy that they covet. And in that sense, it was really important that the relationship between Tom's character and Austin's character wasn't one of being a father figure. Because I've had that in other films. I talk a lot about fathers and sons. That's not what this is. This is a man that is looking at youth and he covets it. It's an entirely different instinct than wanting to protect, to covet. And you could argue that Jodie's character has the same feelings. And that really became the creative inspiration that was added to Danny Lyon's book to kind of get the wheels on the bus and get the plot moving.
One of the things about this is you have a lot of shots of actors without helmets on vintage motorcycles, which are not sometimes friendly. Yeah. So what is it like with the insurance company and the people when you're like, yeah, we're going to get a shot of 14 people, everyone's going to be riding and no one's going to be wearing helmets and let's just go for it.
Yeah, we had a person on set and her entire job was to communicate to the insurance company what we were doing every day. She was lovely. But that's how closely they were paying attention. You don't get to put $1 million movie stars on bikes without somebody raising their hand and saying, what are you doing? But we did the best we could. At some point, though, you have bikes that are over 60 years old with human beings on them without helmets at speed on a highway, and it's incredibly dangerous. And they're in a pack. It was the most nerve-wracking part of any film I've ever directed.
Is that something where you can only get so many shots?
Yeah.
Like we can only shoot this for 30 minutes and that's it?
We treated it like stunts, right? When you ask an actor to do a stunt, you don't get covered. You don't do it multiple times. It's like if they do it once and you get it, then you move on. And that's the way we treated the motorcycle scenes. You might want one more take or one more ride, but you had to temper yourself.
You shot this on film. Was there ever a debate of doing this in like black and white, or is it sort of like with it's not really feasible in this day and age? It's harder commercially to release it.
I never wanted to do it in black and white. Danny Lyon actually asked me that because he loves black and white, and a lot of the photographs are in black and white. And the first edition of his book is all black and white. But the edition that I found first was a 2003 edition that had color photographs included. And for somebody that grew up in the 80s, having color photographs from the 1960s just brought it to life for me in a way that the black and white ones don't. Black and white is an affectation, and filmmaking is an affectation. But I feel like doing it in color cranks up the reality. It allows you to connect to the world in a more personal way. So for me, it was never a question. It would always be color.
The last thing for you. One of the things this film does so well is capturing like a time and a place that can't exist anymore. Like right before, when it was just a group hanging out and riding before it became something else. Can you sort of talk about that time period and how the film captures that time?
Yeah, I mean, that's the feeling I want people walking out of the theater with. It's a feeling of nostalgia, the feeling that this very specific time, this very specific place with these very specific people no longer exists. And Danny says it in the second forward of his book, when he says, he's talking about kind of the culmination of what happened with the club. And he says, the group I rode with are now referred to as the old outlaws. They are no more. And I like that. I like that feeling that it gives. And really what you're looking at is a period from the late 50s to the early 70s, which was a transformative period for this country. When you could actually have someone be innocent enough to think they just had a riding club, that it was just a group of friends, and that it could grow and chapters could grow, and that it wouldn't metastasize into something quite violent and quite dangerous by the end. But that's exactly what happened here. And in a sense, the film's a prequel in that sense. It's really intended to show you kind of where a group like this started and how the mindset of the people that started it developed. That's really what we're trying to do with this one.